we go.
Well, it looks like there's something there.
Yep, it's working.
Cool. I'm just gonna quickly do my usual thing, stick it in the Discord.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Nice. Right, I'm going to turn it off so I can't hear everything again we've just spoken about.
Yeah.
But it's working. I can hear all of us.
Yeah, I heard you. I don't think I heard Z laugh. You know what? I just put this on stream. I'm looking at Vulcan's comments in the other Discord, just reading it like a normal person, and then remembering we're on stream. Sorry, Vulcan. Hello, Cyan.
Cyan a big
Cyan is an avid
Bonista.
stream supporter.
Yeah.
Also, Bitch Lasagna is on stream because it was in one of the Discord channels.
Bitch lasagna.
I don't know who posted it, but Bitch Lasagna was on the screen. Hang on just a second.
Is it like an Italian slur or something?
I've got no idea. I can't even remember the context of it either, but hold on just a second. I'm just put my phone on charge so I can get I can have the live chat up on my phone.
Ooh, good shout.
Just so I can show that I am listening to you, Cyan. Anything you put in. Okay. Also, it's like almost out of power, so I kind of needed to charge it up anyway. Okay, right. I think we're all good. I think we're ready to go. So, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. Or I am back doing another live stream. Not sounding the best that I've ever sounded, thanks to taking ill the last few days ago. But I am still here, fighting strong, proving that COVID can't kill me. We're doing a live stream that's a little bit different because I like to, well, if I'm not live streaming video games, I'm just really live streaming stuff that is of interest to me. As was proven with the last live stream where I spent 3 hours talking about Rooster Teeth. So this time we're talking about football, or soccer if you prefer. And I've got Ump and Z here. We're basically going to go through the last Premier League season that just concluded, the 2023-24 season, and we're just going to talk about the season. Specifically, we're going to go through the 20 teams, sort of have a brief discussion about all of them. I'm gonna grade them, or I'm gonna rank them. I mean, these guys can rank them as well, grade them as well if they feel like, but I'm gonna give my gradings in terms of how good or bad each team did. And basically, through talking about all 20 teams, we're basically going to end up having a discussion about the season as a whole. And then at the end, we're going to go through talking about the Euros and the Copa America. which is going to be probably more so a predictions kind of thing. But yeah, this is also going to be a laptop focused. Oh, hello, geez, the chat exploded. Hello, Jake. Cyan and Jake. Oh, yes, of course. Poland is in the Euros. Okay, well, we'll try and get to the Euros as quickly as possible, Cyan, so that we can talk about Poland before you have to go to sleep. But yeah, so this is a laptop-based stream rather than a gaming stream. So you're going to see, you're going to be seeing a lot of Wikipedia. I'm not going to lie. Just looking at stats and various bits and bobs. As you can see here, obviously, if you're rewatching the stream back, you can just pause all of this and just read if you have any interest in reading all this waffle. I'm not gonna go through all this individually. I'm especially not going to go through this line talking about VAR and Liverpool. I'm also not going to talk about.
Any reason why not?
It just makes me too sad. No.
I'm just going to swiftly move on from that, are you, Hunter?
No. Here's a map of the UK. This is where all the teams.
Hey, what are these guys saying in the chat?
Oh well, they're just talking about. At the minute, they're talking about. Jake asked Cyan, "How far is Poland getting in the Euros?" This is the map of England, and this is where all 20 teams are based. If you ever wanted to visit any of them, if you're like a madman like Chumpy or something, and this is just London specifically. And here's the table. So we might as well not waste any more time. We might as well get started, get rolling, and I think it'll probably be more interesting if we start at the bottom and work our way up. Because if we start at the top, we'll be spending ages talking about the top teams, whereas we can just kind of rush through the bottom teams and then get to the interesting stuff at the top. So let's start.
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot more teams at the bottom that I watched. To be completely honest.
Yeah, let's kick off with number 20, Sheffield United. 16 points. Pretty disastrous season. One of the worst in Premier League history. 3 wins all season. A record 104 goals conceded. I believe the previous record was 100, and that was set by a team that played 4 more games than Sheffield United.
Yeah, the 22 season. 22 league team seasons.
Exactly. I believe it was Swindon Town 30 years ago, I think. Or 31. 30 or 31 years ago. 104 goals. I imagine minus 69 on the goal difference is also probably, if not a record, then it's got to be one of the worst. I mean, to be honest...
They almost averaged conceding 3 goals a game. That's mental.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot that needs to be said about Sheffield. My rank... Oh, by the way, actually, sorry, I didn't say what these gradings are going to be. So they're going to be A, B, C, D, or F, because whoever grades anything E anymore. So it's A, B, C, D, or F. Yeah.
Straight to F anyways.
Yeah, it's straight to F. There's no other way of looking at it. I mean, I would wager their top scorer probably only scored about 6 goals this season. There's just absolutely nothing. 2 players scored 6 goals as top scorer. There was literally at no point Sheffield looked like they were going to do anything or get out of trouble. And yeah, one of the worst teams I've ever seen in the Premier League ever. And I think we should move swiftly on to. Sorry.
I'll talk about them for a little bit, just because.
Oh yeah, go for it.
This is one of those punching bag teams that I did watch a lot, mainly to watch Austin Trusty, who's an American center back, and it was rough. It was rough just watching him week in and week out get torched. Mostly wasn't his fault. He's kind of a younger guy. Hopefully, championship, maybe get onto like a newly promoted team or move to the Bundesliga or something. But he was okay. That's all I have to say about Sheffield.
Also, it shows how prepared I came for this. Something else I also forgot, not just the gradings. I also dug out my original predictions because I knew I'd written them down somewhere. I dug out my original predictions that I had at the start of the season, and then have just written them on a sticky note, which is on the screen now. I had Sheffield United in 19th, so I was one off. But I mean, I'll come to who I thought was going to be bottom very, very shortly. But yeah, so we're just going to move quickly on to Burnley, and I'm just going to throw it out there right
Do you
now.
have
Since
everyone's predictions in the preseason?
I know I only have my own, and it took me ages to find my own. I knew I'd written them down somewhere, but I couldn't remember if we did it in Discord or what the situation was. Maybe we did
just told
actually.
you over party chat. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
remember.
Yeah,
hardly
maybe
anything.
we'll do a more concrete predictions in Discord for the next season.
I think we had the
Maybe
same
we'll do
four
another
Champions
stream.
League teams, but probably a different
Yeah,
order. And then I definitely had Luton getting relegated, but I think I had them like in 18th.
yeah.
Those bad.
So without a doubt, my worst prediction of the entire season is coming up here because I predicted, and Jake's already called me out for it. I predicted Burnley to finish in 11th this season, and they finished in 19th. 24 points, 5 wins all season. They picked up more away wins than home wins, which is pretty disastrous. I think I'm right in saying only 2 wins all season at home for Burnley. And one of those was against Sheffield United. In fact, 2 of their 5 wins this season were both against Sheffield United, which just kind of shows how much of a punching bag Sheffield United were. But yeah, I think I stupidly saw how easily they ripped it up in the Championship last year and thought, oh, if they play the same football again, they're going to do pretty well. Finish comfortably mid-table, and I went as high as 11th. When in reality, looking at the squad, there's just not a lot of quality there, as it turns out. And ironically, the way they wanted to play was probably the biggest cause of their problems. Trying to play out from the back and losing the ball so often and conceding goals.
Even crazier stat is the fact that Company has now gone from getting relegated in the Premier League to managing Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
he's one of the biggest fails his way up.
Yeah.
I think the biggest winner for Burnley this season is Vincent Kompany's agent, because how the hell did he manage to pull that off? And maybe I'm now going from being way too positive to way too negative, but just based on how Burnley have played this season, I could genuinely see him gone by Christmas at Bayern if it doesn't go well, like before Christmas. Oh, yeah. If he doesn't pull it together,
they're losing to like Leverkusen or Dortmund. When their break, he's probably gone.
Yeah, it's I mean, Burnley, I'm not even sure. I can't even think of a single individual player that could even genuinely say they had a good season. No.
Maatsen did. He was on.
I can't even think of a single
Burnley last
player
season
from Burnley. So.
Well, Ian Maatsen had a good season by not going back to Burnley.
Yeah, exactly. He played in the Champions League final.
Exactly, yeah.
Another player who fell upwards.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on to. Oh, and I'm gonna call this one. I'm gonna call this one a D minus. I'm not gonna call it an F, but I'll call it D minus for.
I'll give Luton a good D because they didn't.
I'll call Burnley a D minus. Luton, yeah.
People will put the over/under win total at like 0.5 for Luton coming into the season.
Well, I had Luton bottom, so this was the team I had below Sheffield. I was one of the many people that just completely doubted Luton having any chance of staying in the league with how small they were as a club. The fact that they had next to no recognisable players going into the season. Obviously, that changed at the end of the transfer window because they surprisingly signed 2 players that I didn't expect them to sign in Andros Townsend and Ross Barkley, who both played very well for him actually this season. And I think just the biggest thing was the fact that the amount of goals they scored. They scored 52 goals, which puts them... I'm doing the math in my head now. 4, 5... Oh, well, you know, it's not great actually. It's still sixth from bottom, but yeah. So actually, 15th? I thought they 15th, I guess. For goals scored.
Yeah, but look at the teams around him. Like below him, it's
yeah, I suppose, yeah. But and they had, I think they also had 2 players that got into double figures for Premier League goals: Carlton Morris and Adebayo. I think it was the other one. So yeah, I think they gave it a good go was the big thing, and I think conceding goals ended up being their bigger problem. They just and conceding goals at the wrong time. Like they were in the game. They were in a lot of games, and then conceded late against City, lost. Conceded late against Arsenal at home, lost. Conceded in like the 95th minute at home to Liverpool, ended up with a draw instead of a win. A win that they probably would have deserved.
It was definitely their defending, or their team defending that let them down, because they only scored 5 fewer goals than United, and they came in 8th.
Yeah. In fact, I'm just looking at their table. A lot of there was very few like poundings. Like they barely got battered very often. There's a 5-1 loss I can see here to Brentford at home. And that was about as bad as it got at home. And then away from home, 2-0 away to Arsenal, that's fine. 4-1 away at Brighton on the opening day. 3-0 away at Chelsea, but again, I'm pretty sure that was at the very beginning of the season. 5-1 away at City. That was probably considered a success, actually. Yeah, there was a lot of games where they were in it, or they only lost it by the odd goal. I think Luton did themselves a huge credit, and the fact that they took it, well, technically took it to the last day, even though they were out of it in the last day because of the goal difference.
They need like a 10-goal swing or something.
They needed a 10-goal swing, so mathematically they weren't out of it, but realistically they were out of it. But the history books will say they still were in it going into the last game of the season. Yeah, the fact that they got that far compared to 12 months earlier when they got promoted and everyone thought they didn't stand. Everyone thought they were going to pull a Sheffield and they were going to set like one of the worst records in Premier League history for a points tally and stuff. I'm going to give Luton a D+ because I think they exceeded expectations. No, you know what? That's too kind. I'm going to give them a D. Just a D. Flat D. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Nottingham Forest. So finished 17th. I predicted them 16th. I'm pretty sure last season they finished 16th. So not much of a difference in terms of change. Yeah, 16th last season, 17th this season. Obviously influenced by the fact they got a 4-point deduction. But
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
9 wins, 9 draws, 20 defeats. But honestly, at the time, I think in the middle of the season, I felt like they were not performing as well as they could have for the players that were there. But then by the end of the season, the fact that they were, miles ahead of Burnley and then ended up 6 points clear of Luton, it suddenly made me think, oh, you know what, actually, with some of the players they've got here, they shouldn't be in this situation. I think it's actually quite difficult to judge Forest. They're just a mess, really, of a team. They've got so many different players and just can't decide what their best team is.
Yes, it's pure AIDS. Hopefully, Matt Turner and Gio Reyna's on loan, so hopefully he'll never. It was the worst loan I've seen for a U.S. player ever.
I was gonna say, did he make like 1 or 2 sub appearances and that was about it?
Well, he got subbed in almost every game, but I think he only had like 2 or 3 starts, and it was just Like, why?
Yeah. You might
It's
look it
like you
up.
should have rode the bench at Dortmund and just,
Yeah.
came
Could
in,
have sat
took
on the bench
Champions
for the
League, and
final.
yeah. It's like he was still getting 20 or 30 minutes at Dortmund each game, so it was like, what? Could have been doing that in the Champions League. I don't know what this
Yeah, a
move
bit
was
of a
about,
waste of
but
a loan if he's not going
obviously,
to play.
yeah, it was a total fracasso.
Yeah,
Then
so
obviously
it
Matt Turner
was.
getting benched like 8 different times throughout the season. It was a lot of painful memories
It
watching
was
Forest.
9 appearances in the league, 2 starts, 7 substitute appearances, no goals.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, not
Actually,
like
you know what?
Forest had many goal contributions, anyways.
Well, that's what I was about to say. So I think the biggest shock for me was the fact that Chris Wood somehow managed to score 14 goals. And I'm looking at it thinking, when did he score these goals? Like, I don't remember when he scored. Like, I don't know if he just scored them all in the first half of the season, but I know he scored a hat trick against Newcastle on Boxing Day, but I can't for the life of me remember when he scored all these goals. So yeah, I'm just gonna say D plus for Forest because they're just one of those clubs that just seem to just don't really know what they're doing, and at the minute are getting away with it. Wouldn't be surprised if they don't get away with it next
Organised
season,
chaos.
Yeah, not sure that's a good thing though. Well, I
No,
imagine we'll come on to organised chaos with a certain
I'm
team
sure
a
we
little
will.
later. Um,
Oh, just something else I want to notice. For a while, both of the U.S. #1 goalkeeper and #2 goalkeeper were here at Nottingham Forest. So Ethan Horvath, who's the guy that got them Forest promoted 2 years ago, got Luton Town promoted last year. And then I think he's at like some other team in the championship. That's just kind of his level. But it was wild having our #1 Turner and his backup be Horvath both at the club and national team.
yeah,
Until they like brought in like 8 different goalies to,
yeah.
yeah.
In fact, you know what? I'm
For a
going to go
minute,
back to it again. How many players did Forest use this season? Just out of curiosity. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 34 different players used this season. Although this guy at the bottom didn't play in the Premier League, so 33 different players used in the Premier League. Yeah. Yeah, you got to sort it out, Forest. Keep Nuno for starters. That would be a good starting point. Keep Nuno. Don't spend 100 million again, and actually maybe just figure out what positions you actually need to improve.
I
Okay,
think I lost a
Brentford.
lot of respect for Nuno after this last, especially from the transfer window on. Just
What, because
yeah.
of Turner and Rayner?
Well, it's just like he kept trying to play terrorism ball when he brought in like a 10 that was creative. It was just I don't know what he was planning on.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Brentford finished ninth last season. 16th this season. I predicted 14th. I just expected a huge drop off because of the fact that we knew Ivan Toney wasn't going to be available for half the season. In the end, a bit more touch and go than some people thought. I think they were getting a little close to the relegation zone at one point in the season. I think they started the season really well, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, I thought they were
Um,
up there early.
I think
I
they were
was
in the
kind of
top
shocked
half. Yeah.
when they dropped all the way down to 16th.
I think they went on a horrible run in like coming up to Christmas and then after Christmas when I think coming up to Christmas they went on a horrible run, and then Tony came back. He scored in the first game and in his first game back and they won it. And then I think a few games later after he stopped scoring they went on another horrible run where they lost like 5 games in a row or something. I've got the round by round here. Oh wow, actually, okay, so they actually only won one of their first 8 games, but then won their next 3 in a row, which put them into the top half of the table. then lost 7 of the next 8 games. I'm guessing this win here was when Tony came back. Game number 21. Yeah, Forest, that was definitely Tony's first game back. In fact, oh my God, you know what? So after this 3 wins in a row, and this must have been around November time, after the 3 wins in a row, they, 8, 11, they lost 12 of the next 15 games
How
after the
hell
3
did they
wins in a
manage to
row.
survive that?
Well, I think because they knew, I think they
Madness.
expected to struggle, I think, because of the loss of Tony. I think it also didn't help that they then, all the players that they were hoping they could rely on in Tony's absence, they all then got injured. I think Mbuemo was out for a couple of months. Wissa, I think, went to AFCON or something. Mope's useless, but, you know, when he's your only option, you have to play him. I don't have a very high opinion of Mope, but...
Is that because he played for Everton?
Well, no, I didn't have a high opinion of him when he played for Brighton either. But to be honest, when he was at Everton, I laughed because he only scored 1 goal for him. You know, stay at Everton, to be honest. Keep playing for Everton. They did only lose 2 of their final 8 games, which helped them pull clear. 3 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses. And, you know, in the end, they did finish 13 points clear of danger. I think it was just because of how many games they lost in a row. Like I say, they lost 12 out of 15 at
14
one
out
point.
of 18, I think.
Oh, 14 out of 18. And I think through that, it sort of plummeted them towards the bottom 3. But then with that 8-game spell at the end, where they only lost 2 of them, they then subsequently pulled clear again. I'm pretty sure by that point, Luton, the bubble had burst as for like the last 10 or 12 games of Luton's season. So yeah, in the end, league position, it doesn't look great, but in reality, the gap was 13 points, so it looks like they weren't really in danger at all. I think it was just one of those where they just did what they had to do, and now they'll be hoping to have a much better season next year. Albeit they might not be keeping Tony next season, so we'll see. If they lose Tony, it could be an interesting next season, but that's a conversation for another day. Scored 56 goals, which is the most out of any side in the bottom half. It would just be interesting to see what they do. They're such a small club that they run on a very tight budget and with a very clear idea of how they want to do things. That they just have to see how they do next season, and a lot of it will depend on if Tony stays or not, which I suspect he won't, but. Yeah, I'm gonna call Brentford. I'm gonna call Brentford a C. A C. I'll just call them a flat C. Okay, Everton. 15th.
Everton number 1.
Yeah, Everton number 15, and I predicted them 15th. Woo!
But you didn't predict how they were going to get there.
But they
no.
really got 10th, right? With how many points did they get, Doc?
So, deducted 10 points, given 4 points back, and then we deducted another 2 points for a different charge. So 8 points total. So if they hadn't have had the 8-point deduction, they would have finished 12th behind Brighton on goal difference. And they would have finished 1 point off of 10th. Yeah, I think the reality of this was that Everton's season was just defined by the points deductions. That's plural. If the points deductions hadn't have happened, they wouldn't have been anywhere near trouble, I don't think. But, yeah, it's just...
I guess it's a good season to get the points deductions because it's, they're not getting dropped from Europe or anything, and they're... Still safe.
No, and it did help that I know I praised Luton, but it did help that these three teams. So this is the first time I think it said at the top actually, the first time since 1998 that the three sides that came up all have gone straight back down again. I think it did help. Yeah, for Forest and Everton, if you had to have a points deduction this season, this season was the right season to have it because Sheffield were nowhere near it. Burnley only came good with 10 games to go. Before that, they were absolute shit. And Luton were doing well, but then fell away, as I say, the last 10 or 12 games of the season. So
overall,
yeah.
This was some of the weakest bottom threes that we've seen. None of them reached 30 points.
I think
Like
I
usually-
did see a
Is this the
stats.
weakest collective bottom three?
I think I
It
did
might
see a
be.
stat saying that this is the weakest, like the points tally, like the three teams' points combined. I think it's the lowest three ever. 66, I think, if I can do the math right. 66 points between the three teams. I'm pretty sure I saw a stat that said that's a record low.
Probably a record low if you count the bottom four as well.
Yeah.
Like Forest surviving with 32 points is incredibly lucky.
Yeah,
for
these
them.
get
Yeah.
dropped, right? Like 35 or under. Like
Usually, like 40 points is seen as if you get over the 40-point threshold, you're almost
I was going to say,
guaranteed to be safe.
40 points hasn't been required for years, I think. I think it's been forever since 40 is considered the magic number. I couldn't tell you the last time 40 was actually required to stay up. It might have been pretty close last year with Leicester, possibly. But, yeah, I think 32 for Forest is also a record, like the lowest amount of points, and a team has still stayed up. Yeah, I don't really think there's much to say about Everton. I've got the table here. They basically were all over the place all season. Dumped back. I mean, ironically, when they got the 10-point deduction, they then just decided to say "fuck you, Premier League," and then proceeded to win 4 games in a row to just make up the entire 10 points they just lost straight back up again. Yeah, it was. I don't know, but I think the bigger worry I have for Everton is coming in the next 28 days because all the newspapers seem to think they're going to have to sell at least one, maybe more, of their players before the 30th of June. Otherwise, they're going to get hit with another points deduction. So, I like Sean Dyche. I think he's a really good manager he's a really good relegation manager for keeping a team in the Premier League. But I don't know how you can do anything. I don't know how you can do anything if you're getting points deductions season after season. So,
Well, I think the stats say it already for Everton. They had compared to the rest of the teams around them, they conceded a lot less goals. And that's the kind of style of football that Sean Dyche plays. Is kind of tough to break down. They barely scored any goals as well. But
I think
their
that's
defense really kept it in.
I think that also shows like how in reality they should be 11th or 12th in the table because they had the 4th best defense in the league, but were also the 2nd lowest scorers. I think that's right. Yeah, even Burnley scored more goals than Everton. It was just one of those seasons, I think, where they got away with it because of the 3 teams that got relegated. But at the same time, if they didn't get the points deductions, they wouldn't have been anywhere near danger at any point in the season.
Yep.
So, and there was a lot of games I watched actually where they especially at the start of the season, where they were dominating and just couldn't score a goal, and then they'd concede a goal, lose 1-0, and that was it. So they were they actually played well in a lot of games as well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to call Everton. I'm going to call Everton just a C as well. I'm just going to give them a flat C because I think without the points deduction, they wouldn't have been anywhere near danger at any point in the season.
Yeah, on the pitch,
Seems
see, off the pitch, something else.
Yeah, they need to find an owner and fast. Otherwise, it's like this. I'm pretty sure next season is the last season they're at Goodison Park, and they absolutely need to survive next season so that they can have their first season in the new stadium in the Premier League. It'd be an absolute disaster for their
Is their new
opening
stadium gonna be
season.
more than a field away from Anfield? Or...
I don't know. I haven't actually looked up the geography. I just know it's
Like
by
they
the
put it
docks.
in a field in between.
Oh, I see what you
Old
mean.
stadium.
No, yeah. I don't know. Okay, 14th is Wolves, 46 points. I think. Did they finish 14th last season as well? I can't remember. I predicted them. I predicted them 18th. I actually predicted them to go down. They were supposed to be my Burnley because all I remember before the season started is they were selling all of their senior players. They finished 13th last season, 14th this season. In fact, you know what? Since I'm in their season stats, I can look at it. So Ruben Neves, gone. João Moutinho, been there for many years, gone. Adama Traore, been there for many years, gone. Conor Cody, the captain, gone. Raul Jimenez, their star striker for many years, gone. Nunes, who was supposed to be one of their big midfielders, left after 1 year, gone. I just felt like they were absolutely going into the season. I thought they were going to be absolutely up the shitter. And for the second season in a row, Gary O'Neill does wonders. First with Bournemouth and now with Wolves. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say apart from that, to be honest. It sounds like nobody else does either. It sounds like nobody knows anything about Wolves. So we're just going to move swiftly on.
Yeah, Wolves were one of the 3 teams that lost to Sheffield United, so that kind of sums up their season, really.
Who did Sheffield United beat, actually? Wolves?
I think it was Luton, Brentford and Wolves.
Was it Brentford? I can't remember. It's just so bad. The only one I could remember was Wolves that Sheffield beat. Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
I don't feel like I need to check now.
Wolves, I'm just going to give you a C+, because I thought you were going down when you sell half of your senior team that has been like the cornerstone of your team for the past 6 years. And yeah, you did almost as well as you did last season. So I'd be interested to see how they do next season.
Okay.
They did middle of the road. They did okay. I like Gary O'Neill, and I'm intrigued to see what they can do next year. As long as he doesn't quit 3 days before the start of the season, like the previous manager did. Okay, Fulham, 13th. I imagine we'll be... Actually, no, maybe we won't be brief with this one, because I know there's a couple of American players in this
Couple
team.
of Yanks. Obviously, Jedi Robinson has been linked to a lot of sweaty clubs for some reason. I hope he stays at Fulham. Like they're linking him to Chelsea, right? See, for like Man U and stuff. I'm like, no,
No,
stay at Fulham.
we're linked with the Fulham centre-back, I think, instead.
Tossen apparently is potentially having a medical this coming week.
I didn't really know that we actually... Anyway, that's more Chelsea than Fulham, so...
Yeah, but
Then I assume by Jedi Robinson. I assume by Jedi Robinson, you're talking about Anthony Robinson. Just FYI.
Yeah.
For the viewers.
Jedi.
Who,
More fun.
Jedi Robinson. I like that. Yeah, finished 10th last season, 13th this season. Where did I predict him? I predicted him 13th as well, so that's the second one I've got right. I just expected them to have a drop off because losing Mitrovic, their star striker, but still thought they had more than enough to stay up, and I'm pretty sure at no point in the season.
Zone here where it's like,
this is the super boring zone. None of these teams at any point were in danger of going down. Fulham probably
Still far out
more
of
than
reach of Europe.
yeah. Fulham were probably more so than any of these teams. Were the most middle of the. In fact, you know what? I'm going to get up their results graph. I'd love to know what their highest and lowest position was at any point in the season, because I would not be surprised if they were mid-table the entire season.
It was low 16th at one point, and like maybe around 9th at.
So they were 6th after game 1 because they won their first game.
Yeah.
Apart from that, it was 10th. Lowest was 15th, 10th. Yeah. So highest apart from match day 1, the highest they were at any point in the season was 10th, and the lowest they were at any point was 15th. So yeah, that just says it all. At no point in danger of going down, and yeah, I just think they've got so many. I think they've got a lot of individual really good players, all across the. Maybe not up front. I think the striker Muniz, or whatever his name is, was a surprise success. But so maybe they need to get a striker in. But Harry Wilson, and I am biased because he's an ex-Liverpool player, I think is great. Paulinho is great. Pereira is great. Tim Ream still doing the job. Anthony Robinson.
Tim Ream's on his way out. He's getting too old.
He is getting on. I mean, what is he now? 65 or something?
65.
I think he's like 37.
I was actually going to guess like 38, 39. Yeah,
this was his kind of swan song. I think they started him in the last game just to. Maybe you can look that up just to be hey.
With Tosin on his way, definitely. With Tosin definitely on his way out, maybe they'll keep him. Maybe they'll have to play him next season.
I don't know. I think he's probably going to end up in MLS next year. This is kind of his farewell.
In fact, you know what?
Season, but hopefully he's there to stay and doesn't go to like some, like I said, fucking Chelsea or Man U or some shit.
Oh, you know what? It doesn't have. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's in the player stats. I think Anthony Robinson was top for interceptions.
He's the most interceptions, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know what? We
He's
just
really
said
good.
it. I can't find it. So.
True left-footed left back.
He was top for interceptions, and I'm pretty sure Paulinho was top for tackles or something like that. Yeah, I think for Fulham, it's a case of try and keep your best players. Keep Robinson. Try and keep Paulinho, even though he's being linked with Bayern Munich last summer. Keep Pereira, and try to get another striker, probably. And that's about it, really. I can't see him going down next season, so... I'll call Fulham. I'll call them C+, because they finished pretty much exactly where I expected them to. Yeah. Okay, Bournemouth 12th, 48 points. I think last season finished something like 15th or 16th, 15th I think it was. Controversially sacked Gary O'Neill, bought Iriola or whatever his name is in.
Mm-hmm.
Had a terrible start to the season, and it looked like he could have been on his way out. And then it all came together. They started playing really good.
He found his shooting boots.
Yep, they started playing really good football and proceeded to comfortably finish clear of trouble. And honestly, should have maybe finished in the top half of the table, but had a bit of a rough end to the season, losing their last 3 games, so ended up dropping from 10th to 12th. Yeah, and obviously, the big shout out. The 2 standouts were Dominic Solanke individually, 19 goals or something, which is, I'm not even sure if he'd scored 19 Premier League goals prior to this season.
Yeah.
Oh no, shoot. Oh no, sorry, it's 21 goals in all competitions. Yeah, 19 in the Premier League. And if I had to just pick out one individual game, it would be the rearranged Luton fixture when they were 3-0 down at half-time and ended up winning 4-3. So
that's a great game.
And I'm pretty sure Solanke scored an insanely good individual goal in that game. Yeah, I think Bournemouth did better than they did last season, finished higher, ended up finishing comfortably clear of danger. Yeah, just really good season. So I'm going to call them B-, I think.
Well, I'm
going
going to
B
give their
minus.
medical staff an F for rushing back Tyler Adams and re-injuring him right before the
Oh
Copa
God.
America.
Oh
So,
yeah.
anyways, my wife's yelling at me. I'm going to switch you off.
I forgot about yeah. So that is probably one of the biggest Fs of the season. The fact I forgot Tyler Adams played for Bournemouth this season, allegedly, because I don't think he barely did play for him. I'm not even sure how many appearances he ended up making for him, because he was injured at the start of the season, wasn't he? Oh, hello.
We're still here. I just can't hear Ump if he's speaking.
Oh, he might be on mute. Okay. Okay, we'll come back to it. We'll come back. I'm sure he'll say something about Adams if he does come back. We'll move on to Brighton. Also, 48 points, 11th. Again, probably should have finished in the top half of the table. Obviously, a pretty significant drop off from the season before, considering they finished 6th. I had them finishing 9th, so I was 2 off. Oh, actually, also FYI, I actually had Bournemouth. I predicted Bournemouth to finish 17th, so actually they also massively outperformed my expectations. It's kind of just been one of those rough seasons for Brighton. Had a lot of promise, and it just kind of petered out in the end. Their first ever European campaign got absolutely hammered, I think, in the very first game. And then pulled it together to get out of the group. Got knocked out, I can't even remember, the last 16 maybe. And then the season, it just kind of just fell away. I think they just had a terrible, if off the top of my head, I think they had a terrible second half of the season to not even end up finishing in the top half.
Yeah, they were top 10 for, well, what felt like most of the season.
Oh my God. They were in the top 10 for all of the first 33 match days of the season. They then dropped to 11th, then 12th, got back into the top 10 with 2 games, with 1 game to go actually, then lost the last game, and then were jumped, so ended up finishing 11th. So, yeah, I can't do the percentages on this, but there was only 4 times at the end of a weekend or at the end of a match round of matches where they were in the bottom half of the table, and they end up finishing in the bottom half. Actually started the season phenomenally well. We're top of the league after round 2. So yeah, actually for Brighton fans, they probably thought it was more of the same from last season, but yeah, 12 wins all season, and 5 of those came in the first 6 games.
5 of the first 6 games, including wins against Newcastle and United.
Yeah. Lost at home to West Ham. Beat Newcastle. Beat Man United away.
Yeah, like West Ham had the opposite season. They probably spent most of their time outside the top 10 and finished in it.
Well, we'll be coming on to them shortly. Yeah, in fact, I'm just looking at the graphic, and especially in this second half of the season, I'm seeing. You know what? I think the biggest thing for Brighton was after the first 6 games, there wasn't a single occasion during the rest of the season where they won back-to-back games. They would win a game and then either draw or lose the next one. Hello, Applejack. Nice to see you in the chat. Yeah.
When I said West Ham, I definitely meant Crystal Palace, not West Ham.
Ah, right. Okay, yeah, well, that I agree with, yeah. Just 1 second. Right, sorry about that. Yeah, so, in fact, you know what? It's even worse the more I look at it. So, Brighton only won 1 of their last 9 games of the season. Only won 2 of their last 13. So actually, even though they did spend most of the season in the top half, it is actually in some ways no wonder that they ended up dropping off the way they did. I suspect all was not peaceful in behind the scenes, which is probably part of the reason why De Zerbi is now gone. and is
Yeah.
being linked with Chelsea, Man United. Yeah, it was just. I tell a lie. They did. I think they might have been 3-0 down in their first European game, but then they pulled it back to 3-2 and lost. And then it was in the last 16 they got hammered by Roma in the first leg, and then got knocked out in the last 16. Is what it was. I still think they had a decent season, but it's hard to say what their expectations are at this point. They're kind of like the new Southampton from about 10 years ago, when Southampton were qualifying for Europe.
Yeah, I feel like they did fairly well considering was this their first season in Europe?
First ever season in their entire history in
Yeah.
Europe.
Dealt well with the extra games.
Yeah, it's just a case of manage your expectations, in my opinion, I think. And probably who they get as their next manager will have a big say on that, because I think De Zerbi did wonders for him. I mean, Graham Potter's getting linked with the job, going back there again. Whether that would be a good pick or not is up for debate, but we'll see. We'll have to see.
Definitely.
I'm going to give Brighton... I'm going to give Brighton a C+, just because they did drop off quite significantly from where they were last season, but still had a good season overall. I don't know what's happened to Ump, so we're gonna have to just continue rolling on, I think. We're into the top half now, so we're going to talk about Crystal Palace.
Oh, what an end to the season they had.
They must have had, with the exception of Man City, the best end to the season of any team. And Oliver Glasner, my God. Yeah. To go
All right, what did we
from...
get to?
Oh, hello. Okay, he's back. You missed the... Well, we wrapped up Bournemouth pretty much, and then we just discussed Brighton. All you've missed, basically, is Brighton.
Are we at Crystal Palace now?
We're on Palace now, yeah.
Josh Richards, baby.
I think they were 15th or 16th when Glasner took over, and then it was just absolutely insane the run they went on. The one positive I can give Roy Hodgson before he had to resign was the fact that he got a draw, I think. He won at Old Trafford, which meant he set a record of going 5 games unbeaten at Old Trafford, getting a win or a draw out amongst, I don't know if it's just all managers in general, or if it's just English managers specifically. But that's basically the only positive I can think of off the top of my head for Roy Hodgson. I feel like you just can't talk about Palace this season without talking about Glasner. And Glasner just got them playing some insane football. 6 wins out of the last 7 games, and the other game was a draw. Destroyed Man United 4-0 at home.
Oh.
Regretfully beat Liverpool away as well, but we'll get onto that later. And then wrapped up the season with a 5-0 win at home to Aston Villa. And actually, whilst we're on the topic, the player that scored a hat-trick in that game...
one of their standout performers.
Mateta, he scored, I think, after Glasner... So he got 16 goals in the Premier League this season. 13 of those goals came after Glasner took over. Before Glasner took over, he'd only scored 11 Premier League goals. So he's more than doubled his tally in the Premier League in the 2 months or 2.5 months that Glasner's been in charge, which is just insane, I think. When did Glasner take over, actually?
Yeah, he scored nine goals in the last 6 games.
February 19th, so 3 months, sorry. So in 3 months, he more than doubled his entire tally of Premier League goals under the new manager. Yeah, I think it's just a case of they've got to try and keep their key players, which is obviously Eze and Elise, and then I mean, could you imagine what they'll do next season? So, yeah, I think it's as simple as that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep one or both of them. I wouldn't be surprised if they're setting a new record. The highest they've ever finished in the league is 10th, and they've done it 3 times, I think, now. I would not be surprised if they broke new ground next season. If they keep Eze or Elise, or both. And hopefully strengthen. So I'm gonna call Palace a B+, because insane. I couldn't believe the run they went on. Yeah. Okay, West Ham, 9th. David Moyes' final season in charge.
Well, they're pretty good.
I can't remember. Certainly an improvement on last season. I think they finished 14th last season, but obviously won a European trophy.
Last year, right?
Last
Conference
year,
League,
yeah. Won the Conference League last season, yeah. And yeah, finished 14th. So yeah, finished 9th this season. Got to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, going out to Bayer Leverkusen, which is nothing wrong with that, I don't think.
Considering their season, yeah.
Yeah. And since we brought it up, oh no, sorry, you mixed it up, didn't you? You got West Ham confused with Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
But I'll still check it nonetheless.
I feel like West Ham were probably top 10 most of the season.
They only were in the bottom half of the league for 2 of the 38 match days, and one of those 2 was the first game of the season because they drew. I think, honestly, one of the disappointments that maybe was the reason why they've gone with the decision they have is that the second half of the season, like Brighton, they really petered out. So after match day 19, so halfway through the season, they were 6th in the league. They then proceeded to only win 4 of their 19 games in the second half of the season. Admittedly, they drew 7 of those games and then lost 8. So ended up going from 6th to 9th.
I think that's probably the most disappointing for West Ham fans is just the way that they lost a lot of their games this season. Like they shipped
There were
so
a few
many
hammerings.
goals.
There were a few hammerings, weren't there? There was a 5-0 loss away at Fulham, 6-0 loss at home to Arsenal, I think.
They conceded 5, like maybe 3 times. Maybe
3 or 4 times, I think. You know what?
If you
Let's
include
have
the
a look.
6-0.
Yeah. Let's have a quick skim down. 5-0 away at Fulham. 6-0. Yeah, 6 at home to Arsenal. 5-2 away to Palace. 5-0 away to Chelsea. I forgot about that, actually. So they conceded 5 goals or more in 4 different games. They also lost 4
London derbies.
They also lost 4-3 away at Newcastle when they were 3-1 up in that game, because I remember watching that game. I think all I'm going to say is be careful what you wish for, because I think Lopetegui's a good manager, but David Moyes has pulled up trees for this team, for this club, the last 4.5 years, and they haven't seen the likes of this since the 80s, and winning a European trophy to top it off.
Yeah.
Can Lopetegui get them back to those heights? Maybe, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't.
2 years ago.
Well, the heights are 2 years ago, yeah. I have to wait and see. Be careful what you wish for. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to call West Ham a B-, I think. Okay. Now we're going to get on to some of the big ones. With the top 8, starting with Manchester United. So I'm just going to get all the main stats out of the way now. 8th place, record low. 60 points second lowest points tally they've ever had in the Premier League. -1 goal difference. The first time ever they've had a negative goal difference. 14 Premier League losses, a record. And I think 18 wins is their second lowest as well. Yeah, I'm for the sake of my voice, just somebody please take it away. How bad this.
They somehow won the FA Cup, so
they saved their best game till last, and I don't know how. I don't know how they played so well after playing so bad for most of the season.
Ten Hag is still there, right?
He hasn't been sacked, and I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if he wasn't sacked.
I think they would have
Yeah,
announced
that's
it by now if
that's
they
just their
were.
new expectations. The new Man U, their second fiddle in Manchester. Their Liverpool's kicked their ass, except for this year head to head. But
Yeah.
just they're just not a big team anymore.
Yeah, the new owners have a lot of work to do to rebuild. I mean, I don't really want to get too deep into this because I have to naturally hate them, but they need a clear structure, a clear plan, and they need to stick to it. The same thing that Liverpool were doing for years under Klopp, the same thing that Arsenal have been doing under Arteta for like 4.5 years now. I mean, Arsenal in 2 years went from finishing 8th to 2nd and have now finished 2nd again this year. If Man United get a clear strategy in place, there technically is no reason why they can't go from finishing 8th this season to finishing 2nd in 2 years' time. But that's not going to happen unless they are all pushing in the same direction. They need to all have an idea of what the plan is, and they need to all stick to it. Arsenal went through the shitter for a couple of years, finishing 8th in a row, but it was all part of the plan to keep building, and look at them now. Man United need a few more seasons of absolute shit like this, because, it was pretty shit 2 years ago when they finished 6th, but they still finished 6th. That season when they finished 6th was when they had their record low. It says it all that 2 years ago they had less points than this, and yet they finished 6th. And I would argue this season has been just as bad, if not worse. And yet if you're Ten Hag, you can just say, "I've won 2 trophies in 2 years," which is better than every other team in the league apart from Liverpool and Man City.
Cup last year.
They won the League Cup against Newcastle last year and then FA Cup this year. And of every other club in the Premier League, only Liverpool and City can say they've had a better trophy haul across the last 2 seasons than United. Arsenal have won nothing, despite obviously how much praise I've just given them. I just D. I'm just going to call it D. I'm just going to say D and move on because it's just been
very
you know what D
This is
plus
just the Premier League. It should be an F, but just as
actually, yeah, I was going to say D plus for the FA Cup, but if it's just the Premier League, no, D, and we're moving on. Newcastle, also 60 points, but had a goal difference that was plus 24, better than Manchester United's. 7th, finished 4th last season. Some people might say Champions League was an absolute disaster. I would say absolute daylight robbery for what happened to them in the PSG game. They should have done the double over PSG, and if they'd done that, they would have gone into the last game just needing to get the most boringest 0-0 draw possible. And instead, the refs
finished last in their groups, right?
They both did, yeah. Actually, you know what? I just remembered something I want to say about Man U. Prior to the FA Cup win, I think the best football I saw Man United play at any point in the season was a 30-minute spell in the Champions League against FC Copenhagen, I think it was, where they played fucking phenomenal football for the first 30 minutes. Then I think it was Rashford gets sent off, and they end up losing the game, like 4-3 or something. before the FA Cup win, I think their best football all season was for 30 minutes in one Champions League game that they still ended up losing. That's how bad it was for them. But anyway, sorry, I digress. Newcastle. Yeah, I think maybe they overperformed last season by getting into the Champions League. You know, benefited off the fact that Liverpool, Chelsea and Spurs all had absolute stinkers. And they were the ones that managed to get into the top 4. So
yeah, but they haven't really opened up that checkbooks yet, you know, like they could.
Well, they can't, can they? Because of FFP and all that bullshit.
Yeah, but City can do it still. Like,
well, City can do it, but apparently, well, if they're doing it by legal means, that's...
what are these rules? Like, I don't even...
What a great question. Z,
well, there are approximately 115 of them, I believe.
I can't laugh. It hurts my voice too much.
Like, why are we docking like Everton points and not City? Like somehow, like how is that?
Is that the scapegoat?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean that's what a lot of people have said, that if Everton are getting docked 10 points for one charge, like what should the charge be for 115 charges? What should the penalty be for 115 charges? We're going way off topic here.
League Two.
How many leagues are they going to drop?
We're going way off topic here. Newcastle. Yeah.
I think it was neither an impressive nor bad.
Unimpressive.
It was kind of a slightly bad, really bad.
It was a
I had
worse.
third preseason. I definitely had him at Champions League spot.
Oh yeah, you know what? Where did I just realised I've kind of skipped over predictions for a couple of teams.
I think
well, no one cares about West Ham.
Were City, Liverpool, either Arsenal or Newcastle in third and fourth.
I had Man United finishing 5th, and I had Newcastle finishing 4th again. So yeah, I was a bit off. I don't think it helped. Newcastle had a lot of injuries this season, especially in the first half of the season. It says it all. They won their first game by battering Villa 5-1 to go top of the league after the first round, and then proceeded to lose their next 3 games in a row to drop to 14th in the league. They then proceeded to win, get back to winning ways, and spent the rest of the season in the top half of the table. Obviously missed out on European football because Man United won the FA Cup. Otherwise, they'd be in the Conference League. But
they just seemed to get stuck in losing runs, didn't they? I guess it doesn't help that both of their losing runs had a game against City and Liverpool in it. But, you know.
Yeah. So the 3 games they lost at the start of the season, 2 of those were against City and Liverpool. And the other one was against Brighton. And obviously we said Brighton started the season amazingly.
But
and then their other horrible losing run was at Christmas, where they lost 4 in a row. And 2 of those, again, were away at Liverpool and at home to City.
Yeah, Newcastle fans didn't get any Christmas presents, did they, with their side?
No. No. They lost to Luton just before Christmas. And I'm pretty sure it was their former player, Townsend, that scored the goal. And then the Boxing Day game...
Wood scored a hat-trick against them.
And then the Boxing Day game, their ex-player, Chris Wood, scored a hat-trick. Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's just been rough all round for Newcastle when you look at it like that. I mean, they were 4th for scoring goals. They finished 1 goal behind Liverpool. 85 goals scored, conceded 62, which was actually more than Man United conceded. I think it was just too many goals conceded in the wrong games at the wrong time. And yeah, it was just kind of one of those seasons where they kind of just missed out. And I'm actually sort of interested to see how patient these owners will be before they get ruthless. You know, are they going to act like City's owners who, when a manager's not doing what they need to be doing, they just chop them off and find a new one? They did it with Mancini, and then when they had an opportunity to bring Pep Guardiola in, they ruthlessly got rid of Pellegrini. You know, I like Eddie Howe, but how long before Newcastle decide they want to upgrade? It'll be an interesting one. But I'm going to give Newcastle I'm going to say C plus. I was tempted to say B minus because they did score a lot of goals, but actually, yeah, no, I'll say C plus. Okay, Z, I'm just going to let you take it away on this one. Chelsea, 6th place, 63 points, an improvement of +6 from the 12th place finish last season. In European football again next season. I'm just going to let you take the lead on this one.
Yeah, I would say that if you asked me at the start of the season if we finished 6th, if I'd be pleased or not, I'd definitely say I would be. But I just think the manner in which we finished 6th was, apart from the kind of run at the end of the season we put together, the season as a whole was pretty underwhelming. Apart from Cole Palmer.
Yeah, Cole Palmer, 20, was
Can you
it
see the
22 goals?
positions like for the season? Because weren't they like in
Oh,
12th
yeah,
for the longest time?
Yeah, so obviously 12th last season. They only won one of their first 6 games and were as low as 15th in the league after those first 6 games. After the first 6 games, the lowest they were at any point in the season was 12th. Although actually, I think it should have technically been 13th were it not for Everton's point deduction.
Yeah.
But as you just said, the end of the season, 1 defeat out of the last 15 games, albeit that 1 defeat was a 5-0 loss away at Arsenal.
Yeah.
If you've got to lose 1 game, well, you just want it to be, you don't want it to be a hammering, but it was.
There were definitely 2 sides to our season.
And ironically, you finished 6th. You only got into 6th after winning your second to last game. So prior to that, the highest you were at any point in the... Oh my God, actually, you know what? I need to expand on this. After 21 games, you were 9th in the league. You then hovered around 9th, 10th, 11th for a huge chunk of the season. 5 games to go, you win, you're in 8th, the highest you've been all season. 4 games to go, you win, you're up to 7th, highest you've ever been at any point in the season. Win again, still 7th. Win again, you're up to 6th, the highest you've been at any point in the season. Win again, you stay 6th. And I think, actually, I can't remember, did Newcastle win their last game? I think they did.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so actually you had to win that game as well to finish 6th. So yeah, you literally, what you just said about saving the best till the end of the season was not only accurate, it was necessary because you hadn't reached those heights at any point at any point during the season. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, where did I have you finishing?
But we still did the league double over Spurs, so,
Yeah, that was one of the best games, actually.
Was
That
this year
4-1.
with the crazy penalty shootout with Liverpool? You care about that? Was that this year?
No, that was last season. No, sorry, that was 2 seasons ago. So yeah, you lost the League Cup. Actually, you lost the League Cup final. As Gary Neville called it, the billion.
What was the score this year? Just like 1-0 or something?
It was 1-0 in extra time when Liverpool played the kids for most of the game.
$1 billion bottle jobs or something like that.
Yeah, $1 billion bottle jobs or something. Lost the semi-final of the FA Cup to City when you probably should have won that game.
Like better than most starting teams.
Although, actually, I will give a defence to Chelsea. So everyone was talking about Liverpool's kids. Chelsea, I'm pretty sure, did have the youngest average starting lineup out of all 20 teams in the league. And that's despite the fact you were playing a 39-year-old Thiago Silva. So the average age would have been even lower if you didn't play him, and it was still already the lowest. So yeah, I suppose a lot of young players, that also. I think the way I would probably look at it from the outside looking in is Poch was trying to find the right team or the right 11, and then when he found it, with Cole Palmer being the most important player, he then just stuck with that team, and then obviously we saw how it went with the end of the season run. I would probably guess, aside from the 3 teams that finished in the top 3, Chelsea were probably the only other team that were able to win 5 games in a row at any point in the season. So one of only 4 teams to win 5 in a row, I would guess off the top of my head. I couldn't imagine anyone else did that. And yeah, as I say, Cole Palmer, 22 goals, got to be one of the best breakout first seasons I've ever seen for any player. Arguably even better than Haaland last year, because everyone knew Haaland was a goal-scoring machine and was probably expected to score as many goals as he did. Whereas, who the hell expected Cole Palmer to score 22 goals? So,
no one.
Yeah. I'm going to give Chelsea a B+. I think Chelsea have earned that. Okay, Spurs, 5th, 66 points. Finished 8th previous season. Yeah, I think it's kind of tough.
Harry Kane and they improve.
They did well considering, yeah.
I think. Where did I have them finish? I'm pretty sure I had them finishing really. Oh no, I take it back. I had Chelsea finish. I predicted Chelsea to finish 7th, and I predicted Spurs to finish 6th. So I was 1 off on both because of friggin' Man United. I think I'm finding it quite hard to judge Spurs off of how amazing their season started. 10 unbeaten in the league at the start of the season, top of the league. Spurs fans delusionally believing that they were going to challenge for the league. And then...
They stayed in
it was an awkward time.
Top 4 for pretty deep into the season. I think that, considering they lost Harry Kane at the start of the season, they'd be quite happy with where they ended up. But
my them losing Harry Kane was a slight on Harry Kane, saying he's overrated. But
oh, okay. Well, I think that's a topic for a different.
He's probably had his best season ever this year, so I can't believe
Yeah. I mean, some might say
a little jab there.
Harry Kane is a bit of a curse. Some might say Harry Kane is a bit of a curse because he goes to a team that wins leagues for fun, and they failed to win a league for the first time in 11 years.
Lost?
Oh, Kingsley Coman.
Yeah, Coman and... Well,
he'd never lost a league title in his career.
Yeah.
Which is mental.
We found out which voodoo was more powerful.
Yeah.
It was Kane's inability to win.
He goes to a team that has won the league 10 years in a row, and they failed to win it for the first time in 11 years. 12 years.
And he wins the European Golden Boot as well.
And they failed to win a trophy for the first time in 14 years. The man is literally cursed.
You'll take him at Liverpool next season, won't you, Hunter?
Anyway, Spurs. 10 unbeaten to start the league with 8 wins. Top of the league after game 10. Chelsea then roll into town. We all know what happened then. One of the best games of the season. Actually, Chelsea were involved in arguably the 2 best games of the season. The 4-1 at Spurs and then the 4-4 draw with City. But
we're the neutrals fan favourite.
The Chelsea loss sparked a run of 4 defeats in 5, with the draw coming away at City of all places. To be fair, they actually bounced back reasonably well, but then their final 7 games of the season, lost 4 in a row, then lost another one, which was the City game again actually. 1-2, and ended up finishing 5th. I don't know. I think it's really difficult to judge. I think what Z summed it up best. At the start of the season, a lot of fans probably would have taken this, but the way the season started, and then when they ended up, I
think especially that end of season form.
Yeah.
It's just...
You know what? I probably have to judge this reasonably fair. I gave Chelsea a B plus, I think. So I think I'll also give Spurs a B plus because I have to judge them based on where I predicted them at the start of the season, and they technically did better than what I predicted. So yeah, I think they're in a similar situation.
They didn't get Champions League.
But they're in a similar situation. They're in a similar situation to what they were in after Poch's first season. He finished fifth in his first season, and they stuck with him, and then they ended up losing the league to Leicester the season after. But they were up there, maybe. I'm not saying that they'll challenge for the league next season, but if they keep building, you never know. I suspect he will be ruthless and get rid of some of the old players that stayed last summer that he thinks can't play his style of football. I think he'll ruthlessly get rid of some of them and then get in more of his own players. But I actually quite like Postecoglou. I think he just says it how it is. That no-nonsense Aussie.
Yeah, I wonder if Eric Dyer will stay on at Bayern Munich.
I think he's already confirmed, I think.
Oh, has he?
I think. But anyway, let's move on because we're running over a little bit here, so I want to try and get through these last four so we can move on to tournament predictions. Aston Villa, oh my god! I'm just get the grading out of the way first. I'm just gonna fucking say A plus. I'm gonna say A plus straight away because who in God's earth, not a single Aston Villa fan, would have predicted finishing in the top four, Champions League football. I'd have to just remind myself, actually, for the first time, I think since 1983 or something. First time since 1983, I think, which is, I'm pretty sure they got in that. When they got in it in 83 is because they won the competition. It's their highest finish in the Premier League since 1996. So, obviously, the first time they finished in the top four since then. I was both stunned and not surprised at the same time because Unai Emery has done wonders and just goes to show that maybe Arsenal binned him off a bit too early.
Possibly, but I guess they won't have any complaints with Arteta at the moment. So, but yeah, Aston Villa had a great season.
One of the only regrets Villa fans probably wish they had is that at some point in the season they were top of the league because they could then claim they were the only Premier League side that were 20th at one point in the season, which they were after the first game when they got hammered 5-1 by Newcastle, and could then have said they were bottom and top of the league at two different points in the season.
Yeah, you'll never think that.
I think they had the chance to go top. The game just before Christmas, they drew at home to Sheffield United.
Oh, shit.
They drew at home to Sheffield United, and that ended their 8-month winning streak at home. They went 8 months in a row of winning all their games at home, which included wins against City and Arsenal. Of all the fucking teams, Sheffield, you bottle it against Sheffield United. I think if they'd won that game, they would have gone top, at least for a day. But actually, I do want to say, the win they got against City, I don't think I've ever seen City look so poor in any game ever than what Villa did to them. City had 2 shots in that game across 95 plus minutes, and both of those 2 shots came in the space of 10 seconds from Haaland. And that's all they had in the whole game. Villa just found a way to just completely shut them down. And it's one of the most dominant performances I've ever seen against a City side. Ever, really. Under Pep, obviously. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? Villa have just smashed so many, probably so many of their individual records. And would not be surprised if they performed semi-decently in the Champions League next season. It's just really who they can get that can improve.
Bailey.
Oh, yeah, Leon Bailey. He was one of the surprises of the season. I suppose Ollie Watkins was sort of a surprise of the season, but he had always scored double figures in every Premier League season. He just obviously set a new high for himself. 19 goals this season.
Great season.
I think for the sake of saving time, we'll just say unbelievably amazing. A+ Villa. Yeah. All right.
What more do you want?
Okay, I'm going to save a bit more time here, and we're just going to lump all of the top three together here because they were all obviously in the title race for. They were all in the title race for a majority of the season. Even Villa were in the title race for a bit of the season, but eventually fell away. At Christmas, they were definitely in the title race, but yeah, there were realistically only 3 teams that were in the title race for the majority of the season. So we'll just discuss all of them together. Liverpool, Arsenal, and of course City. City set a new record for the first time in the 135 plus year history of English football. The first team to win 4 league titles in a row before they get them all taken off of them by the 115. No, I'm just kidding. Don't come at me, City fans. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they do what they need to do.
It'll be fun watching them in the National League next year.
Oh, God. Yeah. Ultimately, they do what they needed to do, and they just keep doing it, and have almost never. In fact, well, technically, they've never failed to do it, because the one time they didn't win the league, it wasn't because. Well, it was because they played bad, but it was also because Liverpool were amazing that season. But City were equally.
Still have like 100 points on the table or something. Like, wasn't that?
Yes,
where Liverpool had like one of the highest seasons when they got run.
Oh yeah, so City got 91 points this season. That puts them 10th in the top 10 like highest points tallies in the Premier League. They now have 4 of the top 10. 91 this year, 93 2 years ago, 98 points the season when Liverpool got 97. And then the 100 points that they got in 2018. Liverpool got 99 when they won the league in 2020. Ooh. So City have got 4 of the top 10 highest points tallies, and Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp have got 3 more of them. The only time Man United...
Only one was
Yeah, and only one of those 3, yeah. Yes.
Klopp
Arsenal
fans.
Arsenal fans, you think you understand our pain. You don't understand our pain. You have not even broken the 90 points tally yet and not won the league. You've done great this season, 89 points, and obviously not won the league. But you have not broken the 90 points tally and still not won the league. And we've done it twice. I digress. Yeah, it's just one thing I will say about City. I personally have felt they've not been as good this season. I watched a lot of games this season where I think defensively they were a lot poorer than they have been in previous years. I mean, conceding 4 goals against Chelsea for starters.
I think they
against Chelsea
beatable, didn't they? They looked
that's
like
the way to look
past,
at it.
Like City and Liverpool were just taking it to the next level, and were arguably like the 2 best club teams in the world.
Yeah.
Now they're kind of falling back down, and a big, hodgepodge.
But City's still doing.
Well, they still have managed to win.
Still doing what they need to do. So just for clarity,
only in the Premier League though.
That is true. Only so technically they have won 3 trophies this year because they won the Super Cup and the Club World Cup. Because by virtue of obviously winning the Champions League last year. So technically, they have won a treble, but it is a unique treble. In reality, they only won 1 trophy out of like the ones that they always compete for. For context, they won all of their final 9 games. Yeah. They won all of their final 9 games of the season to win the league. And they didn't lose any of their final 23 games. I'm pretty sure the Villa loss before Christmas or in early December was the last loss they've had in the Premier League. Wow. Which is actually pretty insane. when you think about it. It's no wonder they ended up winning the league. But having said all that, as I say, I do think defensively they have been more vulnerable, and if luck had been a little bit different, and I know a season should not be defined by one game or one moment, but if Son actually knew how to shoot
Oh yeah, Jesus.
to make it 1-1, we could be having a very different conversation.
Spurs
Watching
could
the
be in the
Arsenal fans
Champions
have
League.
to like root for Tottenham for like 1 second was funny.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then the Tottenham fans all celebrating with the City fans
Yeah.
after
Oh,
City go
man.
2-0 up.
That is shameful.
Yeah.
Those are weird times.
And then Postecoglou getting pissed off at all of them after the match. Likewise, as I just said, I don't think a season should be defined by one game, but many Arsenal fans will look at the one game they lost this calendar year at home to Aston Villa and think, if you'd won that game, how much different things could have been. You know, just for context.
Aston Villa were a bogey team for
Yeah, I
a
was
lot
going
of
to say,
teams.
well, well, they did the double over Arsenal. They got a win against City. They didn't get a win against Liverpool. They probably did. Yeah, they probably did the double over lots of teams. To be fair, let me have a look. It's debatable, actually. You could put it down to the Villa loss, which was their 7th to last game of the season. But you could also put it down to their run over Christmas, where they got a draw away at Liverpool, which admittedly wasn't the worst thing in the world. But then they lost away to Fulham and at home to West Ham. So you could just as well say the league was lost then as well. If Arteta's disgrace with the VAR at Newcastle hadn't have happened, then maybe it's an absolute disgrace. It's a disgrace. It's embarrassing. Maybe, yeah. But, yeah, if we want to talk about that, then I could start talking about check complete at Spurs, ladies and gentlemen. But we ended up finishing 9 points behind. So if I was in Arsenal's position and we lost by 2 points, I'd be saying on this stream right now, Liverpool, take the FA to court because VAR just cost you the league because they can't do their job properly. Get that VAR call right. It could have been a completely different game.
What are they doing over there with VAR?
That's a whole different other stream. That is.
That's a different stream. That's a 2-hour stream in itself. It's not VAR that's the problem. I don't think.
No, it's the people.
It's the
right?
idiot.
Like,
It's the idiots running it that don't know how to use it.
This is weird because, like, in the States, they've had video reviews since like the '90s, right? In like every sport, so it's just like it was almost like symbolic and embarrassing that a couple years ago, like an American watches like a Premier League game, so we'll show a video review. No, I can't do that. Like what? Is this like a third world country or something? Like it was. So now just seeing like the Premier League, top flight, best league in the world.
I
can't even do video review properly.
I suspect it's a case of the people that are in the booths trying to, like, it's almost like they've got the rule book open in front of them and they're trying to find the exact wording of how the rule should be applied. Obviously they're not, but I think they're scared that they have to apply the exact letter of the law with every VAR decision, and then it just ends up being an absolute shambles. And I don't really know how to fix it. I take that back. I know how you could fix it. Get some competent people in charge. But
yeah, it's pretty simple.
That doesn't guarantee that it will fix the problem. I don't know. It's really difficult, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse.
I don't think it's as bad in like a lot of other leagues.
No.
In the Spanish league with a lot of league with.
I don't watch
Madrid,
enough. I don't watch enough football from other countries to really be able to judge it. To be honest, but
I watched a lot of Bundesliga and Serie A this year. It was not as controversial.
No, although wasn't there a game was it in Spain, where they got a VAR call wrong? Oh no, sorry, it wasn't Spain. Was it in like the Netherlands or something, where they challenged it, and they took them to court over, or sued them and took them to court over it, and they managed to successfully get a replayed fixture or something. I'm not making that up. I feel like that actually happened this season, like in Belgium or the Netherlands or something. Someone should look that up. But I do worry about it, and I do worry like how bad it could get. I think it got to the lowest of the low with the VAR, with the offside call in the Liverpool Spurs game, because the one thing you could say about every VAR call is that there is a debate, at least. Some people will say that's wrong, whereas you could find, like, you could ask 100 people and say, and 99 of them will say, oh, that was a wrong decision, I think you should have given that as a goal. But you might find one person that says, well, the law technically says, so technically they did the right thing.
Yeah.
The offside call in the Liverpool game was 100% the worst decision I've ever seen, and it all came off of human error. Yeah, and just also, since we haven't mentioned them, Liverpool, I'm not going to get too much into this because I want to do a separate Jurgen Klopp stream, hopefully in the near future, because otherwise it will become very redundant. But not near enough in the future that my voice still sounds like this. Yeah, but Liverpool, I think it will definitely be a season of what could have been, with the fact that with 7 games to go,
on the line for a minute.
The quadruple was on the line with like 6 weeks of the 6 or 7 weeks of the season to go, something like that, roughly. You know what? I'm gonna get the dates up.
I thought he was gonna win it all. I was like, once he announced his return.
Oh, I didn't think we'd win the whole thing.
I thought they were at least
I slightly overreacted there. With 2 months of the season to go, the quad was still on. Then the FA Cup happened, where that was 100% on us. We blew that game. Fair play to United, because at least they ended up winning the whole thing. That is one crumb of comfort I can take.
Shouldn't they have lost the semi-final?
I'm
pretty sure they.
Who, United?
VAR.
Oh yes, the Coventry. So my local team, Coventry City, maybe scored a perfectly. I don't know if Z watched this game or not.
I'm pretty sure. Like there was 0 angles of like.
It was one of those toenails offside calls, is what it was.
I don't think I remember.
Yeah, but it was like when they showed the line, it was like they had already passed the ball. Like the ball was already off the guy's foot. No, there's the line. It's offsides. Wait, what?
Yeah. You know, sorry, I digress because we're running out of time a little bit here. The one crumb of comfort I can take from the losses this season is the fact that the team that beat us to knock us out of the FA Cup ended up winning the FA Cup, and the team that knocked us out of the Europa League ended up winning the Europa League. So at least we lost to the winners in the end. As for the Premier League, yeah, with 7 games to go, we were in it, and I just think we ran out of energy. I think the team ran out of steam. Ironically, the kids were keeping the dream alive, and then as soon as we get all the first team players fit again, they're the ones that blow it. But yeah, it will be a season where fans will look back on it with a huge hint of regret because we could not deliver it for Jurgen. For Jurgen more than anything else. But it was still a good season, certainly a massive improvement on last year. I'm going to give Liverpool an A-. I'm going to give Arsenal an A, and I'll give Man City an A+. Although that will then immediately become an F once the 115 charges are successfully applied. Right, I had a load of stats here from other pages, but because we're running a little bit over here, I'm not going to say anything about any of these. If you want to look at them, viewers, just pause the stream when you watch this back and just look at this stuff, because we gotta move on. and we got to talk about the tournaments. So we got the Euros coming up, and we've got the Copa America. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't really think I've got a lot to say about the Euros, aside from I can't see anyone other than England or France winning the whole thing. I think if anyone else wins it, I would be very surprised.
I can see Portugal potentially winning it.
Oh, I fucking hope not.
Portugal,
Not
Spain.
with
I mean,
fucking
it's one-off game, man.
I fucking don't want Ronaldo
It's not like
to win anything else.
That might be my pick as a Portugal just sneaking.
I bet you anything. I bet you anything. If Portugal win the
back.
Euros, they'll use that as an excuse to give Ronaldo a Ballon d'Or because apparently you just can't give a Ballon d'Or to anyone else that's not called Messi or Ronaldo.
Yeah, they keep memeing
Can't
like,
give a Ballon d'Or to
Messi
someone
scores a
outside the
goal
top
against,
leagues.
Like, St. Louis. There's like he's back in the Ballon d'Or race.
Yeah. Actually, no. Sorry. I said I was going to stop and we're going to talk about the tournament. Two quick things I do want to very quickly say on club football. The Champions League final was last night. Real Madrid won. Perhaps
Classic Real Madrid fashion.
Fortunately, because the game went exactly as I expected, Dortmund had some phenomenal chances. Didn't take any of them. Madrid get the goal they needed. And at that point, I might as well have turned off the game. But at least fair play to them. They did go and score a second goal. 15 Champions League / European Cups now. And to be quite frank, I can't see anyone other than either Bellingham or Vinicius winning the Ballon d'Or, realistically. Regardless of the Euros result, I don't think Messi or Ronaldo should be in the conversation at all.
Well, if Brazil, I mean, I think it's going to come down to these tournaments. It's going to be the tiebreaker.
Well, if Brazil win Copa
Brazil or
America,
England
surely
win.
that's just another reason to give it to Vinicius.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, but say Brazil does and England does.
they usually give it to someone who wins the Champions League, don't they? Or the biggest
Yeah,
international tournament.
that's why I just
but they're
can't. I
both
mean,
on Real
maybe
Madrid,
if
so it's like
maybe if
England
Germany win the
then-
Euros, they might go for sentiment and give it to Kroos because he's retiring. But
No.
I can't see that happening either, to be honest. I just can't see past Bellingham or Vinicius for the Ballon d'Or. But
Messi's going to win another Copa America, and they're going to go down.
the other thing I want to very quickly give a shout out to, because I think it's deserving of it, even though they came up one game short, is Bayer Leverkusen's insane season where they almost went an invincible season. I believe it was
treble.
50.
An invincible
I think it was
treble would have been insane.
I think that would have been. I've been bigging it up for about the last 2 months or so in party chats with people. I think it would have been the single greatest accomplishment in the history of football if they had pulled it off. Because, I mean, for starters, no one's ever even done the Invincibles like in the Bundesliga. Like for how dominant Bayern is, Bayern's never won a league by going the entire season unbeaten. I think I did look up the sorry, what was that?
They did that in the Pokal, so they swept Germany at least.
Yeah, so they did have a domestic unbeaten run. Yeah, I think I did look up like every major European country that's had an unbeaten. I believe this is the first time since I think Juventus in 2012 or something like that. The first time since then.
I was just
Obviously,
thinking about
everyone
Arsenal. Like, when was that?
Everyone obviously knows Arsenal's, but the thing that's
They lost
discrediting Arsenal is they lost games in the Champions League. They didn't win the League Cup. They didn't win the FA Cup. So they lost games in all of those competitions. But obviously, everyone talks about them as one of the greatest teams ever because they went unbeaten in the Premier League. But I would say Bayer Leverkusen would have surpassed. I think they still do surpass it.
I think they did just because they won the Pokal as well.
Yeah.
Like having
and I just was huge. I was left hugely gutted that they had a really bad game. Admittedly, Atlanta played very well. But
yeah, not Atlanta United. No, Atalanta.
No, Atalanta. Sorry, not Atlanta. Yeah, but I felt they were deserving of getting a shout out. I think they were deserving of getting a shout out though, nonetheless. Because if they had pulled it off, I think it would go down as the best thing that's ever been achieved by any football team in the history of football, if they'd done it. By a team whose most famous thing is the fact that they had a nickname renowned for being bottle jobs who never win anything. Bayer Leverkusen. And they almost went from that to the greatest accomplishment in football history and came up one game short. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on. The Euros. So you think Portugal have got a shot? Does anyone think Germany's got a shot? I mean, I would have said
teams have been doing.
I would have said no to Germany until a couple of months ago because they've been absolute ass for the last 2 years in all the friendlies they've played, but they seem to have picked up
last
form.
Couple windows and they're host. And with the form that a lot of their players are in right now. I mean, a lot of their squads from Leverkusen and Dortmund. You know, they could make a little run.
Z, realistically, where do you think England, aside from winning, let's say they don't win, realistically, how far do you think England are going to get?
Oh, that's always a loaded question with England. I think we should win our group, definitely.
A favorable draw.
Right,
let me try to look at
who do we actually... What group are we in? Group C. And we play... So we win our group.
I think you play a second place team if you win your group, win your first game.
Group A or Group B.
I think I did see a possible route to the final scenario based on winning the group, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
We could have a difficult quarterfinal.
So the toughest possible quarter is, I think, it's like either Croatia, Spain, Italy, whoever finishes second.
Yeah.
That could be a love, like if you don't show up, but that's the floor. I would say. And then obviously, I think you're lined up to play France. Everything goes chalk in the semifinal.
Yeah, I think we'd be disappointed not to reach the semis.
I think there'll be a lot of England fans that will be disappointed no matter what if we don't win it.
England's expectations are crazy this tournament.
I also realistically, win or lose this tournament, I think this is Southgate's last tournament no matter what. I think if he doesn't win it, he'll definitely go. And I think
we could pull an Ivory Coast and just fire him halfway through.
Yeah, get Jurgen Klopp in charge.
Wow. A real manager in charge of England? When's the last time that happened?
Ouch.
Yeah, I think Southgate's going to bottle it against the first team. That's usually what happens.
I don't know.
Anyway, there could be a red hot Spanish team or Italian, whoever's Croatia.
I'm gonna put my neck on the line and say I say put my neck on the line, but this is just me putting a specific, like, this is where they're going to get to, and I'm going to stick to it no matter what, and it's on stream so it counts. I'm going to say semi-final and
knocked out by France.
I'm not saying who the opponent will be and who they will lose to in the semi-final.
Do they care about the Euros? I mean, they usually don't show up to the Euros.
Well, they might do actually, because they've won the World Cup, they've got to another final, they won the Nations League, so now they only need the Euros, and then they've got the full set for this generation of players. And for Mbappe, I think isn't Mbappe the captain now as well? So
probably.
He'll be hugely driven to want to get the full set for France.
I think Poland's in there. Are we going to do group predictions? Just go through each group?
It will probably take a while, so I was just picking out individual countries, to be honest. Does anyone think Scotland has any chance of getting out of their group with Germany, Hungary, and Switzerland?
It'd have to be a third place.
Third place, yeah.
The
Swiss are
I didn't actually know this. Scotland have never qualified for the knockout rounds of an international tournament. They've got to 15 Euros or World Cups and gone out in the group stages every time.
Well, this is just the third 2014 Euros, right?
That is true, yeah. Obviously,
they weren't there the first one. I think it's just their second time.
Yeah, so they were there. Obviously, they were there. Obviously, at the last Euros, in the same group as England.
That was a hell of an atmosphere for that England-Scotland game.
Yeah, and Scotland probably played better than England in that game.
But yeah, I'd be surprised if they
I just
made
think
it through.
Hungary's too good right now for them.
Is Hungary? Am I mixing up Hungary? Is Patrick Schick or is that Swit? Am I mixing this up? Is Patrick Schick the player who plays for? Is he Hungarian or?
Patrick
I've got it in
Schick.
my head that I've got it for some reason. I've got it in my head that Scotland and Hungary were in the same group at the last Euros as well. Or I'm not sure if I'm just mixing that up with somebody else.
Patrick Schick is from Czechia.
Oh, it's Czech Republic. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, so I don't.
No, okay then. No, I was mixing it up then.
They were in a group with. Weren't they in your guys' group?
Yeah. I was just for some
Czechia.
reason thought that Hungary was in our group and not yeah, because Patrick Schick scored this insane goal from like
He
the
eliminated
halfway
Scotland.
line against Scotland. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe
just
some Swiss guy
skimming
will
through.
do that this time.
I'll be honest. I'm kind of just skimming through the groups rather than giving us predictions. I'm very intrigued to see how Group B turns out, considering it's got Spain, Croatia, and Italy all in the same group.
Albania's just.
Albania
What
is
a
just absolutely
rough
fucked.
draw, dude. Any other group that could be they could get out of?
I mean,
they're going to be one of the, the sneaky top four teams, but that's
surely
they
the
do
only
shit
shock,
shot.
surely the only shock in this group would be if whichever one of these three big countries finishes third, don't end up getting one of the third place spots. Surely that would be the only shock.
Well, Albania's good enough to tie any of these teams, and if that's the case, they could. This could be a third
If that
place
does
elimination.
happen, then if that does happen, which one of these three countries do you think is the most likely to bottle it? Is it Italy or is Croatia? Because Croatia just seem to just keep going. This golden generation, like surely this is the last tournament of this golden generation for Croatia.
Have they ever made a run at the Euros? I think so. I think they usually go out like in the round of 16.
I can't remember if they got to the last 16 or the quarterfinals in the last Euros.
They might have got to the quarterfinals because they lost to Spain, but I don't remember if it was.
Oh, you know
16 or
what?
the
Did,
quarters.
if they lost to Spain in the last
It was
Euros, I'm pretty
5-3.
sure. I'm pretty sure that was in the last 16. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
I would say Croatia. Just they're getting at some point.
Also,
Age
we've
has to
already
catch up at some point.
we've touched on England, but who do you think is it just Denmark realistically is the other team that's the most likely to get out of this, or are they going to bottle it again like they did at the World Cup?
I actually like Slovenia to get out.
Really, I would
I
have
just
said
don't.
Slovenia
I don't
at the
know
bottom.
how. I think Serbia's gonna be at the bottom. They haven't really done anything lately. Denmark's supposed to get second, but they're. A lot of their recent form was off the back.
Well, they were
of,
just I couldn't believe they were one of the
rallying
huge.
around.
I mean, to be fair, there were when I look back on the last World Cup, there was actually a lot of disasters of teams that went out in the groups. So I think actually Denmark's went slightly under the radar, but yeah, Denmark was a huge disaster at the last World Cup.
I don't know that that's a disaster. I mean, they were in France's group by the.
Yeah, I suppose, but I mean, surely between them and Australia, they were probably expected to get past Australia.
Yeah, they're probably the favorite, but I don't know. Australia usually shows up for tournaments.
Yeah, I suppose. Okay, Group D. This is
There's the
tasty as well,
Poland.
actually.
There's four
Yeah,
Poland.
Cyan is. I don't think
Hopefully
Cyan is
Cyan's not
here anymore.
because I don't.
Just,
think Poland might get grouped.
Cyan. Yeah, you want him to get. You think last 16? I'm struggling to see. I could honestly see. I mean, I feel like it should be Netherlands and France top two, but I could see Poland
This could be a situation
or
where
Austria.
Poland and Austria tie each other and get 1 point, and they're both groups.
Yeah, I could see one of these two teams getting
Well,
out.
Netherlands
But
haven't been playing great recently.
No,
That's true.
but
So,
I mean, this is part of the reason why I think there's very few countries that can win the Euros, because I don't think Spain has got a player that can put it in the net. I just don't rate Morata. I think the Netherlands have got the same problem. They don't have a star striker. I actually don't think Germany have a star striker either, but they do have a good team at least.
but they got
Volkerg,
Yeah.
feisty.
Yeah, but I
And,
personally
the
haven't found him all
Florian
that great for
Wirtz.
Dortmund when I've watched him in the Champions League. Personally, but anyway, Group E. I mean, this is surely just a freebie
Dude,
for
what is
Belgium.
Group E?
This is surely a freebie. I mean, for me, it's Belgium, and then I would like Ukraine to make it.
Ukraine
But
should get second, but
yeah.
Romania's a hot team, so they might get 4 points to qualify.
Oh, you know what? Actually, if you think Belgium's got it easy, I think Portugal might have it even easier. Turkey and Georgia.
Oh, that's gonna be just a fucking knife fight. Turkey and Georgia playing each other. They might
Oh,
like.
dear.
This is in Germany too, so that's gonna be. I mean, over under like 12 players making onto the field.
Damn,
Yeah.
What we taking now?
definitely some dark jokes there as well.
This is definitely. They're gonna throw players into the handicap section like every chance they get.
You know what? I just found the bracket on the wiki page. So the winner. So oh shit! You know what? England's in Group C, aren't they?
Yeah, they're gonna get a third place group or team, which should be.
So A or B. Oh, so they could. Okay. I mean,
Could play Scotland.
technically they could play Scotland in the quarterfinals, but Scotland would have to
They're
get
not ranked up
past.
for it.
France, most
Scotland
likely.
would have to get past one of Spain, Croatia, or Italy in the last 16 to do that. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Okay, you know what? Let's just individually pick a winner. So Z, you can go first.
I'm gonna go with France. I still think it's difficult to block past France.
Ump.
None of these tournaments have made sense, so I'm just gonna say Germany wins it.
The hosts.
I'll be
really
honest, I
shouldn't.
wanted to say France, so since Z said it, I'll just say England just to be different because as I said at the start, I can't see past France or England, and so since Z said France, I'll say England.
Yeah,
And
but
then
those
look
are
like
the
an
two
absolute
consensus
fool.
favorites, and none of the favorites have been winning this year.
That's true.
Every
That's a
coach
fact.
fired their coach halfway through the tournament and won, and then Japan got rocked. Iran, they fucked. Qatar somehow won back-to-back Asian Cups. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just there's some weird mojo going on. And the host
Oh,
of
I
all
saw
won.
I saw Antonio Rudiger, your ex-player Z, do an interview yesterday, and he was talking about superstitions. The fact
Mhm.
that the hosts of AFCON, which was that Ivory Coast,
Yep, they were the host. And so was
won the
Qatar.
competition. Qatar was the host, so he thinks superstitions. He thinks Germany are going to do it.
I'm just holding on to this host, superstition just for my Copa America predictions.
Well, that's a nice segue because now Ump can take the lead talking about Copa America whilst I get it up on the screen.
This will be an easier one. We can predict the groups. This is a clean 16. Very simple.
Isn't this
Yeah.
being hosted in the US? And
Yeah, it's in the States. Second time ever.
This is the pre-prep for the World Cup.
Yeah,
So
it's
how
gonna be
come
sweaty?
how come the US are now in it? I didn't think it was originally.
Well, it's mostly a CONMEBOL tournament, but they like their money.
Oh, fair enough. Yep. Money
Okay, I've
talks.
got the teams. I've got the teams on the screen.
Saudi
Right now.
Arabia will be in the
20
Euros next.
Yeah, the 2016 Copa America made more money than several World Cups did, so it was by far the biggest, most profitable Copa America there's ever been. So this will probably shatter that, given that the Messi hype.
So
Brazil's bringing in
Argentina are defending champions, but
and they have the
obviously Brazil.
easiest path conceivable. Slightly rigged from the get-go because they just announced that the one seeds are going to be here. There's no draw. They're just going to be the one seeds are going to be here, the way they are, and they set it up to where, like, if you have a group rematch, like in most tournaments, like you can't have that until the final. Right? Group
Yeah.
A and B are set off to play each other in the quarters and semis. So like there's no. They're having their own little tournament, and Group C and D are having their own little tournament. There's no way possible for Argentina to play the other top 5 teams, right? Like Brazil, Colombia,
you know what,
Uruguay, or the States.
I
until the
initially
final.
I initially misunderstood what you meant then, but then I've just seen it in the bracket.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's some kind of Mickey Mouse story going on there.
So yeah, so basically there is a scenario where, just for example for the viewers so you understand. So Argentina is in a group with Peru, Chile and Canada. There is a scenario where Argentina, let's just say this probably won't happen, but let's just say Argentina win the group and it's Canada that comes second. There is a scenario where Argentina will play Canada again in the quarterfinals if
It'll be the
obviously.
semifinals.
Oh, was it the semi-finals? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. No,
You had
yeah,
to win
sorry.
one
Yeah,
game.
sorry. It's quarterfinals. I forgot that it's 16 teams.
So
Yeah.
let's just list off Argentina's group again. Argentina, Peru, Chile, Canada. That's 9 points, right? If you're
Yeah.
right. Now the best team by far, and they're half the brackets, Ecuador. All right. But
Okay.
their offense is shambolic. And they
Are
could
they
go
not? Are they still
downhill.
not playing Enna Valencia?
He's honestly probably still on the team. They got that young kid coming in, the like 17-year-old dude. He's probably going to be their best offensive weapon. Mexico, Venezuela, and Jamaica. Okay, like that's
Yes.
their half of the bracket. They just have to be the best team out of those 8 teams. You get to the
Yeah.
final.
To make it to the final. Yeah.
I mean, do you want to just pick Group A here? I think Argentina won by
Argentina
consensus.
won, and I'll just say, I'll just stick with my Canada second, even though it's completely unrealistic and based off zero
It's not
facts.
unrealistic at all, but I actually think Chile they hired Ricardo Gareca, and he's usually a tournament coach, so I think Chile's getting
Okay.
second.
Group B, looking at these
Z
four teams, I will
Z,
go off.
are we
Oh,
gonna
sorry,
ask
not yeah.
him?
Yeah, Z can get in on this. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd reckon my first looking at the table, I'd probably say Argentina and Chile, but I don't know too much about Canada, so
Well, they definitely have the best high end players of those three remaining teams, but I think it's entirely the coach. Chile
Chile have
is.
done better historically in like previous competitions, whether that travels forward.
This is the worst form of like Chile's entire history, though. So
Ah,
it is wide open for Canada, but they just hired their new coach, so I'm taking the new coach bounce for Chile. Group B.
Okay, Group B. I mean, I think I would have probably picked Mexico and Ecuador before you'd even told me about Ecuador, but I will still stick with that. Although I think, based on what you just said, maybe Ecuador first and Mexico second.
I think I'm going to probably predict Mexico to get first, just to spite all the Americans. And this will be a home tournament for them. They're going to sell out these 80,000 seat stadiums every game. Um, Ecuador, they just don't score goals. And like Jamaica, they got that Heimer Holgrimsson from Iceland, that coach that beat you guys in the Euros.
Oh
He's their
God,
coach.
I'd erased him from
Um,
my memory.
they got guys like Leon Bailey, Bobby Reed, and
Yeah.
Antonio, Ethan Pino.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot
Um,
Miguel Antonio. Yeah, plays for Jamaica now.
but a lot of those players might have got kicked off the team, so I have no idea. And when they did, they actually played their best. So
Doesn't
they could have a
oh
shot.
no, sorry, for a split second then I thought Alex Iwobi played for Jamaica, but no, he plays for Nigeria or something, doesn't
Amari Gray used to play for Everton. He's in the Saudi
he?
league
Yeah.
now, but they got talent. They usually just always fail miserably. So I
Hmm.
can't. I'm probably predict them to get last. Venezuela third. I'm going
I'm
to get
also
Ecuador
looking at
second.
the home games here.
Let's go first.
Mexico. I'm also looking at the Mexico, like where they're playing their games, playing them in Texas, California, and Arizona,
Yeah,
which
these will all be
is
100%
yeah,
sold
like pretty
out.
good.
80,
Yeah,
90,000%, 90,000 Mexican fans.
yeah.
So it will be very, very home field advantage for them. Them and Argentina will sell out every. There's plenty of Argentinian Americans in Mexico.
Okay, let's go Group C.
Group C.
The hosts.
What's you guys go first?
Okay, so it's the USA, Uruguay, Panama, Bolivia. I mean, I think I'll just swap Bolivia and Panama around, and there's your top four. I mean, actually, well, Uruguay. I mean, have they still got 40-year-old Suarez and Cavani playing for them, or have they
They got
actually?
Darwin Núñez. He plays
they
for
got
some team.
Nunez, Valverde. They're gonna have they got a lot of world class players.
Realistically, it should be Uruguay top, USA second, shouldn't it? But will the host Impact have a role in this? I'm going to say no. I'll say Uruguay first, US
I'm
second.
gonna say no.
That's definitely the consensus. Z, what do you think?
I would go for the same based on the amount of experience I think in the Uruguayan squad.
All right, so here's my. They're a young team now, but they're definitely more talented at starting 11. So here's my theory here. We play them game 3, so it should be 6 points.
Wrapped up already.
You know, they got Bielsa as their coach. They're Arizona cracked out. Bielsa. It's game 3, right?
Bielsa ball.
Yeah.
How much running? They don't have a good backups. Like our 26-man roster, like top to bottom, is better than theirs, but their 11's way better than ours. And by that point, I'm thinking, you know, home field advantage. We're playing in Kansas City, which will be like the most drunken, rednecked American rowdy fan base that we can probably muster in a tournament like this. And it's Uruguay. There's not a lot of. It will be a pro-American crowd. I think if we like sneak in a 0-0 draw and we score more points against, you know, Panama, we probably put like 5 against Panama or something, and we top the group. I mean, obviously Panama should be Bolivia, but yeah, so that'll be Uruguay second, Panama third, Bolivia fourth.
I think I put Bolivia third. I think I just said I put Bolivia third and Panama fourth, but for some reason I don't actually know why I said that, to be honest.
I don't know anything about either of them. Make a like a confident judgment call on that.
Panama got to the World Cup in Russia and got spanked by.
They got Tomas Christensen, who's a really good coach. He's kind of like, this is the best Panama's ever been, but they just don't have the talent.
No.
And he never plays defensively. He just goes full send, which I think is gonna usually he'll beat all the Costa Ricas and Honduras's and like Jamaicas sometimes. But like when he plays like us or Mexico or just like Borneo.
Okay, and that leaves us with Group D.
Group D. Oh.
Brazil was on horrible form until they went to Europe and beat England and should have beat Spain. But I think they're going to get the new coach bounce. I think that's a thing. You know, you hire a new coach. I think they will. Even though Colombia is on like a 30-game unbeaten streak or something crazy. They also beat Spain this recent friendly window. They blew out like Romania or something.
Wow.
But they haven't lost in a long, long time. But
30 games.
I'm gonna say Brazil tops the group still. It might be like a draw, both get 7 points kind of deal. But I'm liking the new coach bounce for Brazil.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Brazil-Colombia as well.
Did Colombia didn't make it to the last World Cup, did they?
No.
Well, I was going to say, because 30 games, if it was around that,
killing it, right?
I was going to say, if it was 30 games, like, for an international team, that's like the equivalent of, like, I don't even know, 2.5 to 3 years worth of matches, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since. It might be like 20-something now. 30 might be an exaggeration, but...
for the sake of variety, I will swap it around and say Colombia first, Brazil second.
It's a very real possibility without Colombia's form.
I'll say Costa Rica third, Paraguay fourth.
Yeah.
Are we going to do the knockouts as well?
Yes, that'll leave us with, we all probably pick Argentina to beat whoever they face. Ecuador or Mexico.
So Argentina, runners-up of Group B, would be either Mexico or Ecuador, depending on who picked what.
Yeah, so Argentina
Mexico
has
0 chance. Ecuador, they could make it. They could muck it up and go 0-0 penalties. That's their only chance. But
Yeah, I see Argentina spanking Mexico or Ecuador, and then I see them spanking Canada if they played Canada based off of my prediction in the semis.
So you're picking like Canada over Mexico, or
Yeah.
that would be
Oh yeah,
hilarious if
sorry,
that
no, I had to
happened.
pick the other rank. Sorry, yeah, no, I forgot about that. Yeah. Actually, no, I take it back then. No, I can't see Canada beating either of these teams. I mean, that would be kind of cool if it was Canada against Mexico, since they're obviously two of the three host nations for the World Cup.
Dude, they would be in tears if that happened. That could happen. I mean, they got pretty similar talent level, but I actually had the Chileans in there, and I think they're just gonna muck it up and go like 0-0, beat Mexico on penalties. That'd be hilarious.
I'm just gonna say Argentina get
Even
to the
Argentina to the
final.
final.
I'll just get to the final and just keep it simple.
So the other side, what team you guys getting out of there? The other side of the bracket.
Okay, so it's between USA, Uruguay, Brazil, or Colombia. Well, I'll be honest. I don't think it matters which team USA plays in the quarterfinals because I think they'll lose to either one of them.
Twisting the knife.
I mean,
Yeah,
if you
that
hadn't
should
told
with our
me that,
coach.
if you hadn't told me what you said about Colombia, then maybe I would have had a different opinion. But when you said
Yeah,
30
they went
games
to Spain
unbeaten,
and kind of kicked their ass. But I'm gonna
um,
just go on the American bandwagon and say we do beat Colombia at home some way somehow. We ended Spain's 30-game win streak in 2009, so hopefully we can do the same with
hmm,
Colombia.
Mm.
And then get beat by
I'm
Brazil in
gonna
the semifinal.
say, yeah, you know, I'm actually gonna say Uruguay get to the final. I'm gonna say Uruguay get past whoever they play in the quarters, and
And
then
for you, it's
beat
Colombia.
Colombia. Yeah,
Then beat Brazil in the semis, and then
Beat Brazil in the semis. Yeah, I was really toying between Brazil and Uruguay in the semis, which one of them would win it. So I'm going to be a little bit different and say Uruguay, Argentina versus Uruguay in the final.
a sweaty one. Uruguay's got
I
a lot of
think it
pressure because they
depends
need to win something.
on which Casemiro turns up for Brazil. United Casemiro this season, or yeah, the
or
Casemiro who
or
used to be world
Casemiro from
class.
the rest of his career.
Yeah. Mm. But yeah, I just still think it's tough to look past Brazil's squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have Brazil going all the way and beating Argentina too. I just think that's they're going to take
Yeah,
Argentina
even though I've
winning
got Uruguay
all
as
these
an
tournaments
outside, even
personally.
though I may be being wild with Uruguay in the final, I will still
It's
say
not wild at all.
Argentina. I will still say Argentina beats them.
It's got such an easy path. Like their only
Yeah,
challenge is going to be whoever they face in the final. That's so annoying.
that will. Yeah, well,
That's kind
yeah,
of why I
yeah.
think Brazil will beat them
Yeah,
because they haven't really had a challenge yet. So they'd like, oh shit,
and they haven't been
it's a
playing
wake up call.
any tough friendlies. They've just been playing like Central American teams and stuff like that.
It's a bit like in Rocky 3 when Rocky is beating all these guys and then he finds out he's been picked. They've been picked to play easy opponents, and then he goes up against a Brazil and then he gets his ass kicked.
Can do that.
Well, no, but I mean, obviously not
So
actually
you got
Brazil. It was
Argentina
Mr.
over
T.
Uruguay.
Yeah, so I'll say
Yeah, I
Argentina
think
beats Uruguay in the final. Argentina gets back to back Copa Americas.
Um,
back to back to back. That's like a Spain run. It'd be an all-timer
Hmm.
run.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
with a
means you have
Messi
Brazil
cheering
over
on from the
Argentina.
bench.
Yeah, they'll be probably come off the bench. Last 20 minutes.
They'll probably just
And then
rest him for
when
most of it.
Argentina win the Copa America, they'll somehow use that as a reason to give Messi the
Yeah, he's
Ballon
gonna win
d'Or
that.
again.
He's winning the Ballon. Yeah.
I reckon he'll play just over half the game in all the games. Unless they reach the final, then they might keep him on longer. But they'll almost definitely sub him off.
Oh, they're probably gonna rest him in. The last group stage game for sure. Maybe the second, just like they beat Canada 4-0 in the opener. All right, like,
Yeah, Messi, you can go out
So,
now.
so am I correct in thinking you guys are picking Brazil to both win?
yeah, Brazil over Argentina for both of us.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick the states to get the third place over Chile. Just cause fucking, it'll be our best
I
performance at the
predict
Copa.
Uruguay to get third place, I think.
Yeah.
I had Brazil going out in the semi, so I'll say Brazil get third place.
Over Canada.
Oh fuck yeah! I forgot that Canada was in this. I forgot Canada was in the semis on my side. So yeah,
Not we're all laughing, but that's not unrealistic.
it sounds
Course, I
like
mean, with
I
the
need
way
to
the group
find an
is.
illegal streams to watch the Copa America because it sounds like there's a lot of teams that have realistic opportunities to at least go far in
Oh
the
yeah, there's a red
competition.
hot. I mean, like all these teams on our side of the bracket are really good. You know, like if we were like in Argentina's group, can you imagine?
So, FYI
Uh,
dates wise, so the Euro starts on the 14th. The Copa America starts the week after. The first game is the 20th.
yeah, it's
So,
one they in the same time. Yeah, it's only a 16-team tournament, so they kind of starts later,
yeah,
but the finals are on the same day.
mm,
That'll be a fun day. Um,
a lot of football.
it's good because the two different times. It's great for if you're a soccer fan in the States because you get to wake up, watch the Euros, at nighttime the
Yeah.
Copa America will be on. It'll be a lot to watch. And hopefully we
Hmm.
don't bottle it against. The other thing is like what if we top the group and have to face Brazil anyways?
Oh God. Well,
Can
then
you
you could just
imagine? It's
say
like
like your luck has completely run out.
it's like his Berhalter is kind of like he tied you guys. He could tie Uruguay. I mean, the one time we guys
Yeah.
played and we tied him, that was before Bielsa. That was like I was a friend.
I'd actually forgotten that Bielsa was now in charge of Uruguay.
And he's like undefeated. He beat Brazil and Argentina in the qualifiers, but I'm entirely banking it on third game. Both should be on 6 points.
Yeah.
If you're Uruguay, you're like Brazil, Colombia, who cares? Like maybe they don't even feel the some of their maybe like Nunez, Valverde, and those guys are resting.
I can 100% assure you, if Uruguay are relying on Nunez to get them out of trouble based on his performances this season,
You know, he cooks for Uruguay
then
though. He's the exact
well, we
opposite.
used to think he
He
cooks for
scored against
Liverpool
Brazil
based
and
on
Argentina.
the first half of this season. We thought Nunez was going to
To be
cook for
fair,
Liverpool.
that was when he was scoring all his goals and qualifiers was the first half. Wasn't the fall.
Hmm.
So hopefully he slows down and we can.
Up until mid-February, Nunez was doing great, and then after mid-February, it all went to shit for Nunez and the team in general, really.
Yeah, all the U.S. fans are they're expecting him to just have a stinker or a hat trick. There's
Yeah.
no between.
Okay, I think that covers everything. So, as I say, once my voice is healed, I'm going to be doing a separate football-related stream, just by myself, similar to what I did with the Rooster Teeth stream, talking about Jurgen Klopp and his legacy. Maybe we'll do another football stream that's pre-season, where we'll get some proper official predictions that we can
I
then
thought you
look
were
back
going to
on
say
in
proper official guests. I was like, okay, no need for that, is there?
official predictions that in 12 months' time we can look back on and then ridicule ourselves for how badly wrong we got it for not predicting City to win a fifth Premier League title in a row. Let me just edit that. Making ourselves look like complete idiots for not predicting City to finish bottom of the league after their 115 charges are
Well,
found.
I'm sure they'll top the National League.
Yeah, they'll probably win
Oh
their
yeah, but they've
league
got to still
wherever
be
they
in
are.
the. I was going to say they've got to still be in the Premier League, haven't they? They've just got to take a minus 15,000
500.
points deduction. Yeah, yeah.
No, then they'll still find a way to stay up.
Fucking Jesus, yeah. And then next season, oh, we forgot to mention it's another 5,000 points deduction. It accumulates. So you get 5,000 this season, you get relegated, you get another 5,000 points deduction. Next season, 5,000. Season after 6,000 because we're feeling generous. I think there's no better way to end the stream than with a joke like that. So
Is
yeah,
it joke or hope?
no comment.